You look at this engine, it shows you, all right, windshield washer fluid. It is so important. How many of you have ever been out on the road and something splashes up on your windshield? If you're out of windshield fluid, that is going to hinder your driving, isn't it? So it is really important to know where to put windshield washer fluid. I was told about one of the instructors that had a daughter who wanted to put oil into the oil fill, but she didn't know where it was, and guess where she put it? In the windshield washer fluid. Can you imagine, first of all, when you turn that on, what it's going to do to your windshield? It's not going to look too pretty. But not only that, it burned out the pump that put the water up onto the windshield, and the total cost was around $800 just because she didn't know where to put the oil in the car. You know, everybody makes mistakes. However, she learned she'd never do that again. So, oil. The oil fill on this car, this is a Toyota, it's right up on the manifold, and so it's really important to know where the oil is. On my car, it's right down in this area here. So if you don't know where it is on your car, where can you look? At the manual. You bet. Engine coolant. Why do we need to keep engine coolant? We can really run into problems if it overheats. So, yeah, know where those are. And then your brake fluid, we find it way up here. You know, that's right where your brake pedal is, next to the gas pedal. And that's usually where you're going to find the brake fluid. And of course, your battery, right there. Let's go on. So when you check oil, the first thing you want to do is you want to locate the engine oil dipstick. And you want to pull it out, but your vehicle should be shut off. Because if your vehicle's running, all of that oil is up lubricating all the parts. So you want the vehicle off, maybe leave it sit for about 5 minutes, and then check that oil. And what you do is you pull out that stick, you wipe it off, and then you reinsert it, and you'll check it. And you can see right here, I don't know if you can read that, but from here to here, it says add. And from here to here, it says safe. And if you're in the safe area, you're okay. But if you're down here in add, you want to make sure that you put oil in your car. Because adding oil is easy. You just pour it into the right place. If you don't add the oil, you could end up burning out your engine if you keep forgetting to add oil. I had a car once, about 5 years ago, that burned lots of oil. And yes, one time, 5 years ago, I didn't check my oil, and guess what happened? The engine froze, and the car was junk. It did have 350,000 miles on it, so I got my money's worth, but you check your oil. So, locate and remove the oil fill cap. Again, check your owner's manual if you don't know where that is for the proper type of oil. We're going to talk about that. There's many different kinds of oil. Add oil to the fill line on the dipstick, just like I showed you where that was on that dipstick. And funnels really help. Have you ever tried to get something in a small part? If you're reaching up on the car, right where that is, and you're trying to pour oil in, getting it all over there wouldn't be nice. So a funnel would be a really good thing to have. Keeps drips to a minimum, and then make sure you replace the cap, because otherwise oil could spew out over the engine. Motor oil. There's lots of motor oils. If you don't know which motor oil to use in your car, where can you go? The owner's manual. But there's 5W20, 5W30, 10W30, 10W40, lots of different oils in the winter time, a 5W20 is a little bit lighter, isn't it? It's not as thick as like a 10W40. That's a real thick oil. So you've got summertime and wintertime oils. And you've just got to, again, look in your owner's manual to see which one to use in your car. How do you know what weight to use in your car? My car's a 5W20. I know that because I looked in my owner's manual. And so you really need to do that. Antifreeze, coolant fluid. There's a lot of different kinds of coolant fluids. This antifreeze right here is ready to go, packaged. All you have to do is buy it and pour it in your vehicle. And this one, I believe, is good till about 25 below zero. You want to make sure that you buy an antifreeze that is going to work here in the purple state, Minnesota. Any of you know how cold it's going to get tomorrow? It's like as cold as the North Pole. I mean, how many of you are hoping they close school?
It's already done.
So this one's ready to go. This one is a premium antifreeze coolant, and it says concentrated. Have you ever at home had the kind of orange juice that's in one of those little things and you open it up and you mix it with water? So even though you pay a lot for that compared to buying orange juice, it makes like twice as much of the orange juice that you can drink. And the same as with this here. This you have to add water. It costs a little bit more than that kind of already mixed coolant, but it gives you twice as much. And you want to look as you're driving to be able to save some money, whether it's on buying products for your cars or learning how to drive and save gas. And then they've got antifreeze summer coolant. The summer coolant that we have in Minnesota still is good to like 20 below zero. If you're in Arizona, they don't sell the stuff that we need here in Minnesota. Real important to know what you put in your car. Windshield washer fluid. Again, we talked about that. It is so important. It is used to clean the windshield. You're right. And these fluids here, this one, purple, is Minnesota. And this is good to 35 below zero. That's what I want in my car. I use the purple all the time. This one is good to 20 below. This one is great in Minnesota in summertime, and it works in winter. It's to 25 below, and it also cleans bugs off the windshield. So, you know, when you do that, you just want to shop, you want to look at price. You can find this on sale sometimes for about $2 a gallon. So look for sales and buy it when you need it. Transmission fluid. You need to know in your vehicle what type of transmission fluid to use. And transmission fluid is a lubricant for your transmission. It also is a coolant for automatic transmissions. But one thing to look at is you can't just buy any transmission fluid. When you look at this one here, it says automatic transmissions. This one is for a manual transmission. So it's really important to know what kind your car uses. This is for a Honda, automatic transmission fluid. It's a high-end protection. And so just be aware of how to look in your manual and see what type of transmission fluid to use. The transmission is a closed system, so you shouldn't have to really add it, but if you do, then something's wrong, and you need to make sure you talk to a mechanic and find out what is wrong. Your brake is also a closed system, and you want to make sure that if you have to add brake fluid, there's something wrong, there's a leak there. You want to get it checked out. Power steering fluid. again, there's a lot of different kinds of power steering fluid, and you need to check your owner manual in order to see what is the correct power steering fluid. But the power steering fluid really helps, because your steering wheel, if you didn't have power steering wheel, you'd be really turning it. You could still work it, but it's hard to do that. And then one of the most important ones that most everybody gets to just really think about, as you look at your brake fluids, we talked about that. By the way, they've got different, this is .3 brake fluid, this one's .3 and 4, this is just the .3. Know which kind you put in your car. It's so very important to do that. And again, if you have to add it, there's something wrong, because your brake fluid system is a closed system. So the blinker fluid, how many of you ever bought the blinker fluid? Have you ever used that? So it's really important. How many of you have ever been driving and had one of your blinkers go out? So did you know where to put the blinker fluid? So how many of you know where to put blinker fluid? Is blinker fluid really something we put in the car? No. It's not. But you know, it's good to know that, because you don't want somebody to come up to you if you don't know your car systems and say, hey, I've got a bottle of blinker fluid and I'm going to sell it to you for $1. Don't buy blinker fluid. You don't need it. Bulb basics. You know, it is so important to check all of your bulbs regularly. When you go take your test, guess what they're going to do before you even get to go out? They're going to walk around the vehicle and they are going to check all of your bulbs, your turn signals, your headlights, your tail lights. Know the basics of it. Know headlights. When do you have to run with your headlights? On sunset to sunrise. You want to have those headlights on sunset to sunrise, or if it's snowing or raining or foggy, if you can't see 500 feet, you want to be running with your headlights on. Safeway runs with them on all the time, because if you just use your daytime lights, that doesn't help you see like headlights do. But it lets somebody else see you from the front of the car, but there's no lights in the back or on the side. So your night lights, even though you only have to use them from sunset to sunrise or in bad weather conditions, are really the safest way to do it. If your blinkers are, you turn to use your signal and all of a sudden it's going really fast, that's a great indication that you have a blinker out and it needs to be changed. When you have a license plate, white light is required by the state. You have to have a white light. Can't put in a colored light on that. Automatic headlights again versus daytime running lights. Make sure that you realize, when do you use your main lights? From when? Dusk till dawn.
No.
From sunset to sunrise. Thank you. Prohibited lights for non-emergency vehicles. Blue lights, flashing lights, and strobe lights. So you see some of the plows coming with the colored lights and things like that, and emergency vehicles. It is prohibited for us to have those on our cars. One of the things that's really neglected a lot is our windshield wipers. You know, I think a lot of people get caught by surprise, where all of a sudden you use wipers and you can't see. Has that ever happened to you, where it's like, wow, these things are killing my windshield? So every once in a while, you want to check your windshield wipers for cracks or peeling, for proper fit against the windshield. You want to make sure that it's touching and covering that windshield. And no, you know, like today or tomorrow, it'd be a tough day to go out and check your wipers, but you want to know if the clips are secure back here holding the wipers on. and how to change it. I'd suggest on a warm day to go out and do something like that. When rubber starts drying out and cracking, your windshield wipers are not going to do a good job. So you want to check them. You want to make sure that they are up to date.